We are live now. We can start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole conversation will be in English, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let me start. Hello and very good evening to everyone present here. I welcome you all. Myself, Jahnavi Khalil. I'm a student of Dibrugarh University. I'm pursuing Masters in UGC Center for Women Studies. I'm your host for this session today, bringing to you all another webinar session on the topic intervention strategies against child labor. So before I begin, I want to give a brief introduction about what actually anajari is. So anajari means the bond of love. It signifies unconditional love, and it is this bond of unconditional love for his native land that brought back Milind Datta sir, the founder of Anajari, from the USA to start a non-profit organization in 2018, which engages and promotes various initiatives that are striving for social change uh, and owning leaderships, skills, and building entrepreneurships capabilities in the Northeast, including Assam. Started during the first lockdown in 2020. For the past 2 years, we have been engaging with speakers from various fields via virtual media to create a network among the people working in this region. So now I would like to introduce ma'am. And today we have with us Malabika ma'am as the lecturer guest in today's session. Let me give a brief introduction about Malabika ma'am. Uh, uh, so Malabika ma'am is a child protection activist. She is working as a district child protection officer in Kamrup, Assam. Ma'am has a lot of work experience of working with people living with HIV, sex workers, destitute women, issues related to child rights. And today the topic that we have chosen is intervention strategies against child labor. So let me give a brief explanation about what actually it is. So intervention strategies means a plan for staff action that outlines methods, techniques, cues, programs, or tasks that enables the child to successfully complete a specific goal. And today the session will be about how intervention strategies against child labor it works. So ma'am, Malabika ma'am, I would like to speak, oh sorry, I would like to give you the session.
Okay. Thank you, Jahnavi. Thank you, Jahnavi. While speaking about child labor, actually, first we all have to know about who are children, because whenever we go for a child labor rescue or anything related to children, we see that people are ignorant about who are children. Some people still think that the person below the age of 14 is only children, but it's not. Any person, any human being below the age of 18 years are considered as a child. And in the ILO, the International Labour Organization, they also says that they also fix a minimum age for appointing a child in labor, in employment. So they have also fixed the age of 18 years as minimum age for employment. So it's internationally it's 18 years who can work, but in our country we have separate laws. We have our constitutions. So our constitution in section, Article 21A, it provides us the right to education. It says that any child above the age of 6 and below the age of 14 must get compulsory and free education, and that means they cannot be engaged in work. And we have CLPRA, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act. And Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act says that it says about two categories of people. First is child. child is a person who is aged between 0 to 14 years, and the other category is adolescent, 14 years and below the 18 years of age. And it says that a child who is below the age of 14 years cannot be engaged in any kind of employment, any kind of economical, that can earn. He cannot earn. But if in a family business, if a person has a family business, then he can engage a child even below the age of 14, but it should not hamper his education, or it should not be a hazardous work. And then it comes to a person above the age of 14 years, they can be engaged in some work. That is, if the work is not a hazardous kind of work, then person above the age of 14 years and below the age of 18 years also can be engaged, but it cannot be hazardous, and there are some time limit. A person cannot be engaged in work for more than 6 hours a day, and that too after every 3 hours. The child has, the adolescent, since I'm a child rights worker and we consider, as per the Juvenile Justice Act or as per the UNICEF definition, we consider a person below the age of 18 as child. So I may speak the person below the age of 18 years and above the age of 14 years also a child, but this act, this particular act says it's an adolescent. So a person, a child above the age of 14 years can be engaged in some non-hazardous work, but only for 6 hours a day, and that too after every 3 hours he must be given an hour of rest, and he cannot be worked before dawn, and that is before 8 a.m. and after 7 p.m. During the daytime only he or she can be engaged in some work. So the act also says that it is also now a cognizable act. So if someone employs a child labor, then the person can be punished. The person is punished for imprisonment of 6 to 2 years. Minimum 6 years of jail he can be rewarded, and maximum of 2 years. And moreover, he also is liable for a fine of up to 50,000, 20,000 to 50,000 of fine. He is liable if it is for the first time. If a person engage a child labor for the first time, and if he is a repeater, then his imprisonment increase up to 1 year to 3 years. For the first time, a person, if a person is, convicted for keeping a child labor, then he will be punished for an imprisonment of minimum 6 months to 2 years. And if he's a repeater, then its minimum imprisonment is of 1 year, and he can be imprisoned up to 3 years. And even in this, after the amendment, this act is amended in the year 2016. So after the amendment, even parents are also liable for punishment. The law can take action, penal action against the parents of the child labor also. If the parents are, are to be blamed for keeping the child labor, if they are found guilty of keeping their child as a child labor, then they are liable to give a fine of rupees 10,000. And there is a provision of rehabilitation fund for child labor in this act, and this fund is created, and an account is there between, a joint account is there of the district magistrate, DC, and the labor officer and DC have a joint account, and they from this account the rehabilitation of the child labor is managed. So this is what what's there in the Child Labor Act, and this is the scenario of child labor. And in many cases, when we go for a rescue of child labor, we find we face some questions that this child is so poor, they are so poor that they could not have their food in their homes when they were with their parents. They could not have their food. At least they're getting food here. At least they're getting clothing here, good clothes we are providing them. So they are getting a good life than what they are getting in their own homes. But our question is just, mere getting good food, is this a human life? I just am telling a story because child labor is such an issue. If we see apparently, it looks that it's not very uh, it's not very I mean it's not very grim issue. But if we go intense, then this child labor issue creates many other issues. I just want to share a story. It's a true story. uh, it is in the year, I think, 2014, 14 or 15, 2015. Yeah, I just joined as a child protection officer. Then we found an article in the newspaper that a baby is adopted in another district from my district. So this adoption process is also done by us as per the Juvenile Justice Act. So we have no information of that adoption. So we just contacted that the DCPO of that particular district. Since everything must be kept confidential, so I'm not sharing the names of the district. So we contacted that DCPO, and the DCPO, with the police, the child line, they have done investigation and found that that particular adoption was an illegal adoption. So that DCPO, he rescued the adopted child and brought the child into the adoption, procedure, legal adoption procedure. And we found that the child who gave, the mother of that child, mother of that baby, she's also a child. She was a 13-year-old child who gave birth to another baby. And after inquiry, we found that that child, the mother of that baby, she was a child labor in a household, and she was also an orphan, very poor family. She was living with her grandmother, who was nearly 60, 70 years old. So that grandmother works in a private school as sweeper. She just sweeps and mops the floor and get 1,000 of rupees. With that 1,000 of rupees, she cannot live her life. So she has to put her granddaughter to work in someone's house in the neighborhood. So in the morning, the grandmother, leaves her granddaughter to that person's house, and she works there till night. And at night, the male person of that house, he takes the girl child to her home. So on the way, there was an abandoned house of that person, and that person take the girl to that house, and in that house he rapes that child every day for 1.5 years. Time she got pregnant, and that she was just when she was pregnant, she was just 12 years old. She doesn't know what is pregnancy, or she doesn't know anything. During her first days, when she was molested, or when she was touched badly by that person whom she calls mama, that mama, she told her grandmother that mama touches me like this or mama kisses me like this, but her grandmother didn't believe her because he is a 60 years old person who's a retired person. He has his own daughter. He has his grandchildren also. How can that person molest this little girl? So her grandmother didn't believe her. So when she got pregnant, then that the daughter of that person, of the perpetrator, she understood that she saw some, I mean, some unnatural activity with that person, with that girl. So she asked if she is getting her period or not. Then she knew that the girl was pregnant. She brought the child to the hospital for abortion, but she was already 7 months pregnant. So she cannot be, I mean, aborted. The pregnancy cannot be terminated. So she had to give birth to a child. And when the child and her grandmother was talking about everything, crying and talking about all these things in the hospital campus, someone in the campus, they heard their conversation, and they told that one of their friends who don't have any children, they are seeking some child to get adopted. So they introduced them to that person, and their child was adopted like that. So after that, we brought that child, the victim, to our child protection mechanism. She was kept in a children home. Then she was given some vocational training and all. And now she is 18 and she's out of the children home, and she is now with her. I mean, she was restored to her grandmother again after she was 18 and she was getting some vocational training and all. So we can see that if the child was not engaged in child labor when she was 11 or 12 years old, she would not have faced all these circumstances. So child labor is that very big problem. Though we don't see child labor as a very big problem, but it is that very big problem. So, and even if there are many laws, our constitution also says for protection of child rights or prevention of child labor. Not if not directly, then it says the Article 23 or 24. It says right against exploitation, and child labor is exploitation. But still, there are child labor still prevalent. So that is it.
Okay, ma'am. Are you done with the lecture?
Yeah.
Okay, so ma'am, I have prepared a few questions on the topic. So the
Okay.
first question is, there are many schemes adopted by the government to stop child labor, but what are the main problems that comes in the way?
Comes in the on the way to prevent child labor.
Yeah.
Okay. See, child labor or any issues with in which really in relation to children, it's not one issue actually. Uh, the all the departments, all the I mean, person in the members of the civil society, they have to work together. Then only child labor can be prevented. If we see, whenever someone calls in the child helpline 1098, he or she says that please don't disclose my name. We keep the confidentiality. We don't disclose the name of the caller. But what is bad. We have to face. We have to. I mean, I'm lack of words actually. Why are we, I mean, afraid of saying bad as bad?
Yeah.
What is bad is bad. We should, I mean, clearly say if someone in my neighborhood is a child labor, we should go to them and we should discuss with them. There may be some, I mean, we have some person when we I mean, rescue a child labor. Sometimes we find such families that yeah, someone in the neighborhood who is not very sound in economically sound, the children of those family, they are keeping in their house, they are going to the schools, and it's not like that they are only just enroll their name in the school. uh, this is also in some cases this also happens that some people only to prevent themselves from getting, I mean, uh, prevent themselves to I mean, from getting arrested, getting convicted. They say that they have admitted the child in school, but in many cases they just get enrolled the child in school, but for the whole day the child is working. But there are, though very few, some people are there that the children are going to school, they are getting their education, they are getting all the child rights. Uh, Such children are also there. So if the child is going to school, or if the child is getting some vocational training while staying in someone's house, and they are learning some skills also, so it's okay. Then they can process it to get, I mean, for foster care there is a provision of foster care. If I want to foster a child, I can keep a child, I can give him or her all her rights. I'm not engaging him or I'm not engaging her as child labor. What my child is doing, what my that those works only he or she is doing. Uh, Such things are there, such provisions are there. So, if someone wants to, and in foster care, if a child is under foster of some person, before it was 5 years. Now, if someone is living as foster child with some family, after 2 years of fostering the child, the family can approach for adoption of that child. It will be a legal adoption. So they can go for adoption. The child will get parents, so they can do those things. So, but if the child is I mean, the person is employing a child, we should protest. We should be vocal against all these issues as a civil society person. And then even the policymaker also should do things reasonably, because um, today some guests came to my house. Both the, I mean, couple, they are teachers.
Okay.
So they are, yeah, they are saying that in their locality there were 5, 6 schools before, and now some schools are getting amalgamated, some are getting closed. So, and many posts are abolished. Many posts of teachers are abolished. After the retirement of existing teacher, the posts will not exist. So there will be unemployment, huge unemployment coming. So
Yeah.
if the parents of the child is unemployed, if the parents cannot feed the child, there will be poverty, and ultimately it will cause to child labor. So policymakers also should do things reasonably to, and civil society also should act. I mean, they should be vocal against all these issues.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. So the question number 2 is, if we see a child performing labor, what should we do first?
I'm not getting
Like,
you.
like in our day-to-day life, we see many children while we go to the market or while we go anywhere, we can see in the cities as well as in small towns also, we see child
Hmm.
labor. So what should we do when we see them?
A child labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, though, we should prevent. As I said, we should, if the employer is known to us, we should talk to them. We should discuss with them, discuss the issues that keeping a child labor is not a good thing. And if they understand and if they correct themselves, it's okay. And if not, then, or if we cannot face if we cannot directly prevent it, then we should, I mean, a very easy method is there. We should call the child helpline. It is 1098.
Yeah.
So once we call the child helpline, within 1 hour, the person activist from child helpline, which is called childline, so within 1 hour, their activist comes there, and first they investigate everything. And after inquiry, if it is seen that there is a child labor, there is a child in some household or in some enterprise, then they will rescue them with the help of police. And in some district, there are not childline, no childline is there. So in those districts, we should call 100 or I mean police helpline 112. So that is it.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So the third question is, what factors can be used as intervention strategies to prevent child labor? What are the most effective factors we can use to prevent child labor?
Um, it is the some questions. I mean, some answers are similar with my previous answer.
Yeah.
So first we should, yeah, we have to use the helpline numbers up to the optimum. So
Yeah.
1098 112, or in almost in every district there is a child protection officer, district child protection officer. So in my case, I use my numbers. I mean, I use my number, both WhatsApp number and my, I mean, with the number for call. I keep it in. I mean, I give it all the meetings and all. So we can I mean, contact the district child protection officers. So we can contact call 1098, the police officer, and now the district, I mean, DCs, all the DCs are very much, I mean, enthusiastic to work for children. So we can collect their numbers and call them also. And all the civil society, all the stakeholders must take their responsibility. Without taking the responsibilities ourselves, we cannot prevent anything that harms our society. So we must take the responsibility. Then, as I said, about the guests of my family, that school children, yeah, in the Child Labor Act, it itself says that in, I think, section, if I'm not wrong, section 12B or 12, yeah, it says that if a child doesn't come to a school for more than a month, then the teacher of that school must go to that family, the child's house, and inquire why he or she is not going to the school. If there is a chance to get the child getting married, there is a chance to get the child engaging in some child labor. If so, he or she must act responsibly and bring the child back to school. So the teacher doesn't. Teachers themselves don't know about this thing. So teachers also should, I mean, if all the teachers are the, I mean, category of person who are very, I mean, attached to children, who are very near to children. So they themselves can being a teacher, they themselves can prevent a child from getting engaged in child labor. So all person, all the civil society, we should work together, we should work responsibly, and there should be easy access to education. If I'm not very controversial, then our education system is very now, higher education is very much, costly. Poor family cannot afford it. So education system should be accessible to all kind of education. If someone wants to get educated, it should be accessible. So education should be accessible so that the children can get education and get a decent job. And moreover, in my office itself, it's a government project, but there are persons who are getting salary as low as 10,000 rupees. In 10,000 rupees, how can a family survive? So every decent job must have a decent package so that
Yeah.
they need not get their children work.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So the fourth question is, like, we have seen the only negative impacts of child labor in the society. Are there any positive impacts if the child works when he's a child? Are there any positive impacts?
No, I don't think so. There is no positive impact of a child labor actually. But yes, if the child is above 14 years and if he is working in a non-hazardous work, if he is even after working somewhere, if he is getting his education, then yes, his skill is somewhat developing. Uh, Only as a training he can get it, but I don't see anything positive in child labor.
Thank you, ma'am. The questions I prepared, you already gave the answer in your lecture. So I have no questions left now. Okay, so thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, do you want to add something
Yes.
more?
Um, about child labor, in the whole session we have discussed that child labor is the most grayest, if not black, the grayest part of uh, child development.
Yeah.
So in that true story, what I shared, we can see that when and child labor, if we analyze the cause and effects of child labor, we can see that it's a cycle. Poverty brings child labor, then child labor makes the children getting married early, then early marriage brings early pregnancy, then when a child is a mother, then he or she will not have any decent job. So again, there will be poverty, and their children are getting in the way to get a child labor. So it's a cycle. If we don't stop child labor in some point, the whole society will be in the grip of a very very gray area. In a very in a black hole of in all the child issues. So to prevent the whole society, we must stop child labor. We must work. We must know. Actually, we should know the child rights. What the child rights are. The CRC Child Rights Convocation says the four categories of child rights: right to survival, right to development, right to protection, and right to participation. And child labor violates all these four kinds of child rights. So we should be aware of these child rights. We should be aware that all child should enjoy all the rights and the the I mean other the অস্ত্র যেটো আমি অসমীয়াত কওঁ a child should
Weapon.
have in their hands
Yeah.
the pens and pencils and erasers. It's not
Yeah.
the da potteries and all those things.
Yeah.
Haturi botalis. So we should the pens pencil should be given to the children. Education is the best thing for a child to get, not the work. So once educated, then they will get a decent job. Then they will get a decent. That is it.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. It was
Thank you.
really a great session. Like we got to learn so many things. So I want to end here. We couldn't cover up the time also, but it was really a great session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Jahnavi. Actually, I'm grateful that me, I mean, eligible for this session. And this is my first live session. I'm very much awkward. I feel very awkward to go live, but still, everything has a first time. So
Yeah.
this is my first time. Hope I mean I could go up to your expectation. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.